But let me take, no, Chopin. If you let me take the book off, you can sit down.
Maybe he likes the book.
No, he doesn't seem to know what to do.
Tell me about your memories of.
My,
What was the recording? You know, sitting and stuff.
ah,
All right, I'm gonna keep the headphones on because that's the only way I knew. You said you're like your father.
yeah. Well, I'm quiet. I don't really want to go any place. I'm content to just hang out in this dump, which is, it is a dump. But, no.
Tell me more about the memories of your father as a father. I mean, how do you remember him as your father?
How do I remember? He did what he could for us, but as I say, he was always busy in the store, and we're not.
So he didn't have time to play with you much?
Well, there was a time when my mother insisted that he take us out every week. During the summer, we used to go. One day a week, he would take us to New York. We would go to Radio City or to Coney Island or the Paramount, someplace to see a movie. And his biggest love was eating in Hector's cafeteria. He didn't like to go to any of these fancy restaurants or anything, but there was this one, I'm sure it's not there any place, called Hector's Cafeteria. And that's where he just thought it was the greatest place to go there. The food was good. I remember they had Russian coffee cake. That was so good. And, but I mean, he would take us out.
But he wasn't around much.
No, not really. He was in the store or taking a nap, and he did like children, but as far as I guess he was just too busy to bother. My mother did all the bothering.
In what way?
In what way? Well, just having us do things and help around the house, but it was strange because she always, for a lot of times, right after Joyce was born, we always had a woman in the house to take care of the children and to do everything. But she always saw that at least we helped out in the store, which we did, especially cold winter mornings, going to put the Sunday newspapers together, which was a big project. We used to go like 5 o'clock in the morning and put all those sections of the paper together. There weren't, because we had a lot of newspapers in those days. We didn't have only the few papers we have now. We had the Mirror and the Daily News and the Herald Tribune and the New York Times, the Star Ledger, the Newark News, and I think there was one other paper. And all these papers, you had to put all these inserts in.
So it was a family affair to do that?
That was sort of a family affair, yeah. Because by 6 o'clock, everybody was standing in front of the store waiting for their Sunday papers. And then, well, we always had a cat. My memory of the cat in the store was it was disgusting. Had a dirty bowl of milk. It was a nice little outside cat. It just came in to have some food. I remember cutting up tons and tons of lamb liver. He used to like to eat raw lamb liver. And we used to have to cut it up and piece it, and we stored it in the ice cream freezer. And then we would take it out and thaw it out for this little animal. Never did I think I would have such pampered pets who have to, I wouldn't do it now, I'll tell you that. Or then there was another time we had a cat. There was a man who was a fisherman, and he'd bring us raw fish. So this cat got to like to eat whiting, and all it would eat would be raw whiting. And then
that?
It's a little fish that they catch in the ocean called whiting. And then for a long time it ate it raw, and then my mother decided it should be cooked. So we'd have pots of this boiling fish around for the cat.
No wonder you got disgusted by having cats around.
Well,
What
Yeah,
other?
but it was an outdoor cat. And it's funny though, when the night my mother died, the cat went off. We never saw the cat again.
Wait a minute. Whose cat? I thought you were talking about cats in the store.
It was a cat in the store, but when they got
But when your mother died, you didn't have a store.
no, we didn't have the store, but
Oh,
she still had a cat.
Virginia? Was
Virginia, yeah, we took Virginia with us to Lakewood.
That? Oh,
Or Jackson, whatever. It was Jackson. We had Virginia.
it was Lakewood.
Yeah, and Virginia was always around. But I think by that, I don't know what she fed it, because when they moved to Lakewood, I wasn't really there much. I just went to visit once in a while, because I was... Where was I? I guess, no, I wasn't living with... Yes, I must have been living with Aunt Becky at the time, because they bought the house in Belleville, and you and your family lived upstairs, and my mother and father and I lived downstairs. Yeah, I was working in Jersey City at that time, and then I got to the point where your mother and my mother were always arguing, and I couldn't tolerate it. And in the meantime, Uncle Sam died, so I went to live with Aunt Becky. Yeah, then they moved down to Jackson. So I only went down there to, visit once in a while.
What other memories do you have of family outings or
Family outings.
Were you together much as a whole family?
A whole family? Most of our outings were, I remember outings that Aunt Sophie used to take us to Jones Beach all the time. And I remember, no, as a family, no. My father, they couldn't. My mother and father couldn't take us place because Oscar, somebody had to be in the store. So it was either my mother or my father. My mother used to take us to Brighton Beach, I remember, Asbury Park. And when we were fairly young, I guess before your mother was born, we used to go to, they rented a house in Belmar for the summer with Aunt Sarah. And we stayed in Belmar with Aunt Sarah. And I guess my mother came down occasionally. But there were no family outings exactly. Except when Aunt Sophie took us to Jones Beach or Asbury Park with all her sandwiches. She came prepared with so many sandwiches and so much food, so much fruit. It was really unbelievable.
Tell me some more memories about your mother. I mean, how was she as a mother?
As a mother? Yeah. I guess she was all right. She tried her best, but we were not. She was okay. Oscar, go away from that wire.
I'm afraid that really doesn't say much, that she was okay.
Well, what can I say? I have no...
How did you feel about her growing up?
How did I feel about her
My
growing?
understanding is that she yelled a lot.
She yelled a lot? Yeah, I guess she did sort of yell. I don't know. I just probably kept out of her way as much as I could. She yelled at my father a lot, because she never felt that he had any ambition and he didn't want to, really do anything. She had to push him to do everything. So I guess I sort of kept out of the way. She did yell like your mother yells, or did yell. I don't know if she still does, but she did. And really, what can I tell you?
You said,
What's on? Oh.
You said that Uncle Louis delivered my mother and almost ended up killing her.
Uncle Louis?
Who delivered your sister?
My sister?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
You were telling me that...
When Stephen was born, I think Uncle Louis delivered her.
All right.
And she didn't like him. She didn't like him from the beginning because she once had a wart on her foot, and she felt he took it off in a very bad manner. He didn't anesthetize the foot enough or something. And she always complained about the wart he took off her foot. And he did, I'm pretty sure he delivered Stephen. Because at the time, yeah, Stephen, I think we were living on, or was it Susan? When was Susan born?
60, I think.
You know, it's so hard to remember all these things.
Well, but you said Mom almost died?
No, she didn't almost die. She
Oh.
just thought that it was very painful, and he could have been more tender and so forth, but she just didn't like him, I think, because she was, the way he took the ward. I never found any problem with him. It was always, you know, as far as I was concerned, he was all right. But your mother felt he could be more gentle. I know he delivered Beth, because the twins were born in Beth Israel. No, wait a minute. No. He delivered the twins. Somebody was born in Beth Israel. Must have been Beth, because...
Maybe that's why she got her name.
No, she was named after Aunt Bessie.
Oh. Oh, really?
Aunt Bessie. Tante Betsy.
Tell me about her.
Tell you about her. She's an old lady. She lived on Jackson Street, and we used to go visit her once in a while. I remember going to her house for Passover, and we'd have these big, long seders, very late seders. She was a very religious woman, as far as I understand. Grandpa Pink lived with her.
What? She was Orthodox?
Oh, yeah.
They were both Orthodox?
Oh, definitely.
And she was Bessie Pink?
No, she was Bessie Cohen. She married a Mr. Cohen.
Oh. Okay, but her maiden name was Pink?
I don't believe so.
Do you know what her maiden name? Well, whose aunt was she?
She was my mother, your grandmother's aunt. But I don't know if she was a Pink or what she was. All I know is she was married to a Mr. Cohen.
Okay.
She had a sister, Aunt Konetka, who lived in the house, and Grandpa Pink.
That was her husband?
No, that was her
Her father?
relative of some sort. All these things get very mixed up and complicated.
I know, they do, but I want to go as far back as...
He used to, well, you're not going to go too far with me. He lived in a little room off the kitchen. I remember his long white beard, and he used to have a rocking chair.
What was his name? Do you remember?
He was Grandpa.
But he wasn't your literal grandfather.
No.
That's just a name.
My grandfather was my father's father. And the other ones died long before I was born even.
Really?
My mother's parents died when she was very young.
That's right.
Yeah, because she took care of her brothers and sisters, and she took care of this grocery store with the help of Aunt Bessie.
What was your mother's maiden name?
Smolensky.
Smolensky.
Which was later changed by the boys to Small. Uncle Louie and Uncle Abe changed their name to Small. Yeah, because I was hard to get into medical school or to college in that particular time. You know, there was all this anti-Semitism, and they didn't like Jewish boys going to college. So I think it was easier for them to change their name to Small, which they did.
Oh.
So that's where the Smalls came in. It was Smolensky.
Oh.
And the boy, Chris, I don't think the girls changed their names until they got married, but it was just the boys, Uncle Louie and Uncle Abe. And then my father, well, they changed their name to Rogoff. Why, I don't know.
You mean to Ragovin?
No, it was Ragovin, and Uncle Bill changed his name to Rogoff, and then Uncle Abe changed his name to Rogoff, and Uncle George changed his name to Rogovin instead of Rag. Why, I don't know. But that's, unless maybe when he went to school, that's the spelling they gave, you know how they did it, they gave him that spelling.
But when they came over, I thought their name was originally Rogov, and then it got changed to Ragovin.
No, their name was some long Russian name, which I think my brother knows. I don't know it. They changed it to Ragovin when they came over.
Okay, yeah, so it was changed. It was never a real Ragovin. It was made up by, like, the immigration.
Yeah, this was made up by the immigration department, and then the boys, some of the boys changed it to Rogov.
Do you know why?
No, that I never did know why. Maybe it was easier and simpler. What do you want? What do you want, you howling brat? He wants to eat. That's what his problem is. Right?
Do you want to feed him?
Do I want to? Not particularly.
Okay.
Let him howl a bit.
So,
What?
as far as back as you can remember,
All right, come on. Come on. Come on, Putz.
your father's father
Yeah.
was who?
His Jacob
Your grandfather.
was my grandfather. My father's father, I think his name was Jacob.
Jacob Ragovin?
Ragovin. Yeah.
Oh. Hmm.
And they lived in Brooklyn. He was I think, a tailor. And they lived in Williamsburg in New York.
They did.
Well, when I knew them, I think my father was born on Cherry Street or something. And then when I knew them, I remember we used to go to visit them in Williamsburg on the subway, or the elevated, or whatever it was. What?
Jacob. So do you know when he died?
He died when we first started, when we had the candies, when we were living over the candy store. And I still say he died when he was visiting us. I think my brother's going to tell you he didn't, but I'm pretty sure that he did. Because when we first moved to Kearney and my father opened the store, we lived in the flat up above the store for a while. I don't remember how long before we rented a house down on Hickory Street, which is a couple of, and that's when your mother was born, when we lived on Hickory Street.
So Jacob
Mm-hmm.
was born in Brooklyn?
No, they came over from Russia.
They did.
As far as I know.
Probably Jacob.
God knows what. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. You have to ask. I think Charlie knows.
Okay, I will ask him. So he was the one who originally came over. Your grandfather came over on the boat.
Yeah, and also my other grandparent, the other side of my mother's family too, came over on the boat.
They did.
Oh, sure.
From Smolensk?
I would assume so, since they were called Smolensky. That's probably a name that was given to them when they came over. We assume that's,
But
we really don't have anything written down or know too much about it. At least I don't.
And you don't remember their names?
My mother's parents?
Yeah.
No, I don't. How come I don't? But I don't.
Maybe you never knew it?
No, gee, if we had those Diction diaries, it would be great, but we don't.
Well,
that your mother had.
Yeah,
We had
she
some
had
of them, yeah.
I don't know that it says much about them.
Oh, no? No, they came over, and I think they lived in New York, too, because I think my aunt has a birth certificate showing she was born in New York, and then they moved to Passaic from New York.
Who has a birth certificate?
Aunt Becky had one, I think, or a school certificate saying they went to school in New York, or they were born in New York or something.
Do you know where that birth certificate is now?
Oh, I guess we gave it to Judy or Jean or Judy or Helen when she died. They took all her stuff.
Would she have old pictures? Do you know where there are
Who?
old? Aunt Becky, did she have some old pictures? that went to Judy and Jimmy?
Probably. Judy must have some old pictures. What I haven't got, then I guess she's got, you know. They may have taken, there were a load of pictures in a drawer.
Really?
And I'm sure Judy or Helen took them. But I don't know whether it was just of their family, you know, Helen and Judy's family, or our family.
Probably both.
Maybe it's a mixture of both, but I know there was a lot of pictures.
Okay.
So maybe you could ask Judy, or maybe even Betty might know.
Okay. How would you characterize my family?
Your family? I don't. Different, let's put it that way. I mean, nobody's settled. Everybody's always trying to do something different. They don't seem to know what they want to do. They're just not.
You'd call it an unstable family, maybe?
Yeah, I would sort of say that. I mean, look at your father. He's been does so many different things, and it all seems to get to no place. Your mother's always trying to do something different. And even your sister apparently keeps changing jobs. To me, that's not stable. I'm stable, but then again, I'm probably pretty dull. I mean, I've been in the same hospital for 25 years, which some of the girls that I worked with say to me, how could you stay in a place for so long? Because you're there, it's comfortable. You know everybody, you're not looking for any challenges or any adventure, any excitement. It's there, you do it, you know what you're doing it, you're getting paid, and you're comfortable, and that's it. Now that's my way of living. But some people are just constantly changing. I don't know if it makes them better or what, but that's my theory. Your family is... Ooh, more Oscar.
It's okay.
Don't you like Mark?
He likes to play.
Likes to bite. So anyway, that's my feeling.
Well,
you seem to be more stable than the others. You seem to, you know, at least as what I know about you, you seem to be pursuing some sort of a goal.
It's interesting what you said about your mother.
Yeah.
Would you say there's a lot of her in my mother?
Oh, definitely.
What kinds of characteristics do you think are there?
Well, this wanting to change and to just do odd things and get tired of doing the same. See, I'm more like my father, because he was just, you know.
Happy to be.
Yeah,
in one spot and not
just to
change.
be in one spot and not change, and to make a living, and that's it. Your mother seems to want to, I don't know, keeps changing her mind about doing things all the time. All the crazy stuff she does with the flea market and trying to sell all clothes. I mean, it's not crazy, but it just seems like such a lot of work for nothing.
Why do you think she does that?
Why does she do that? I guess it's a release, just to keep herself busy.
Why do you think she needs to keep herself busy?
Why? Because she's probably not happy doing anything. But she's looking for something to make her happy. I don't understand your mother, frankly.
Was that true of your mother?
My mother?
Was she always looking for a change? Was she always?
Oh, she always wanted to change. When we lived in Kearney, we moved into, I don't know, 5, 6 different houses. She was always looking at houses.
Really?
Always. She'd
Why?
drive these. Why? She's probably looking for something to do. Maybe she just wanted to find someplace different to go. But she would drive those real estate people crazy. She was always having them take her to look at houses to buy, which she never did. She knew she wasn't going to buy them, but they'd always be taking her to a lot of different places. Eventually she did buy a house, but she would drive them crazy looking for different kinds of houses. She didn't know whether she wanted a 2-family house or a house to run as a boarding house, or she finally settled for a 1-family house, but that's... Your mother's probably the same way, but right, she doesn't, she feels she should move out of the house where she's living right now, but apparently she doesn't feel she can afford it. And that's the elevator bell. And I think she doesn't want to live in an apartment because she feels everybody knows your business, which is absolutely not true. I've lived in Lakewood Avenue for 23 years. I didn't know a soul. I mean, I knew people, but only time I ever went to anybody's apartment was to pick up a cat because they went into somebody's apartment. I would talk to the people in the lobby, but I never visited their apartments. Nobody knew. I mean, it's not like she thinks it is. She thinks everybody's always running into everybody's apartment. I know the woman next door. I only know her because we take the bus to the ShopRite together. And one day I knocked on her door for some strange reason. I couldn't imagine. Oh, to call a cab because I left my keys someplace. And a woman down the hall, only because she's a friend of my friend Josephine's. And that's about the only people I know who live on this floor. I mean, I see them, I say hello, but I have certainly nothing to do with them.
Describe the three of you, my mother, and your brother.
How would
you characterize the three? Was there something in common that you all had as a character?
Something in common? No, I think we're all different.
All three of you are different from each other?
Yeah, I think so.
How would you characterize each one of you?
Well, maybe Charlie and I are more alike. I think we seem to be. Charlie's very, very cautious. He studies everything very carefully. I don't think your mother and I do. I can't be bothered. If somebody tells me something, that's it. I don't go investigate anything any further. And your mother Charlie investigates everything under the sun. And your mother is sort of like halfway in between us, I think. Sometimes she's careful and cautious, and other times I really don't think she is.
Can you give some examples of when she's not?
When she's not?
When she wasn't?
Well, I don't like flying off to Florida for no particular reason. I don't even know why she went down there. Except maybe to get away from my mother, because they were always arguing. My mother never liked the way she brought up the children.
So why did they move in together on Mary Street in Belleville?
Because I suppose my mother thought it might be a good idea.
But my mother certainly knew.
Your mother, I know. Well, I think your father had just gotten out of the Army or Air Force, and they needed a place to live. I don't really know why they did that. But it wasn't a good arrangement, I know that. Definitely not a good arrangement. No, that's what forced me to get out of the house. Because I couldn't stand the argument that they were doing all the time. Your mother believed in taking the infant out to the shopping mall at 10 o'clock at night, and my mother thought that, well, a kid should be home and sleep and in bed 10 o'clock at night, not roaming around shopping malls. But it just didn't work. The whole thing didn't work. And then I went to Aunt Becky's, and then I think your sister moved to Jackson.
My mother.
Yeah, your mother moved to Jackson after that. It's so hard to remember.
Okay. Well, that gives me an answer to that question. So you see the three of you as pretty different from each other.
Yeah.
So you and my mom are more alike.
Similar.
And you've all gone your three different ways?
Yeah, we've all gone our own separate ways, and I wouldn't say we were particularly close.
Was that always true?
What?
That you were never really that close?
Yeah, well, your mother...
Growing up, was that true?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my brother went about his business, I went about my business. And then there's like 10 years difference between your mother and I, too. So that probably, but we're still not close.
Why do you think that is?
Why? Well, I guess we've got some of our father's blood in us. I blame everything on my father. See, psychiatrists blame everything on mothers, but my feeling is that I'm too much like my father. Because anything that's not good, I feel, it's not his fault, it's just that I take after him.
So, you think all three of you kind of learned that lack of closeness from your father?
Probably. My mother was closer to her family. In fact, my father's family, we don't even know whether they're living or dead anymore. We never hear from them. We never hear from them, and we never, bother to find out anything about them, so. I mean, your mother doesn't live too far from Aunt Pearl, but we don't know whether she lives in...
Who's Aunt Pearl?
She was Uncle George's wife, who has since died.
That's right. Wasn't Aunt Pearl pretty big?
Yeah. Aunt Pearl was that heavy lady. Now, she lived in Century Village. So she and Uncle George went to Century Village to live there, not too far from your mother. And we did, when I was in Florida, we went up to visit. But since then, I know your mother's never made any attempt to, see if she's living, dead, or what.
Did she not get along with her? Or there just was never any
No,
connection?
just no connection, I guess. She just didn't want to bother, I guess.
Now, who is Uncle George?
He was my father's brother.
Oh, boy, I don't remember him at all.
He was one, well, you probably wouldn't, but he lived in our house in Kearney when your mother was born, because my father needed help in the store at that particular time, and he wasn't working. It was during the Depression. So he came to live with us, and he helped my father in the store for maybe a year or so. And then, of course, he got married, and he lived in, he used to, what did he do? Oh, he opened a candy store of some kind in Brooklyn, I remember.
So he was a George Ragovin.
He was George Ragovin.
And that woman whose name I thought I saw, Lena.
Lena was an aunt of theirs.
Of Uncle George?
He was my father's. Must have been my father, one of my father's, my grandfather's father's relatives. They lived in Nutley, I remember. They also had a candy store on High Street. And they had one son, and his name was, the father was Sam, and the mother was Lena. Oh, Sidney was the son, who became a dentist. Sidney Rogoff.
Oh, Rogoff.
Rogoff.
Not Sidney Lerman, who also was a dentist.
No, Sidney Lerman wasn't a dentist. He was a photographer.
Who am I thinking of?
The dentist was Aunt Becky's husband, Sam Fogelman. Sam Fogelman was the dentist. Okay. He was Aunt Becky's husband. Okay. Sidney Rogoff was no relation to Aunt Becky at all. He was my father's nephew, I guess. He was our cousin, second cousin. But, well, I think he's since gone. And
Sidney?
Yeah, Sidney Rogoff, the dentist, yeah.
He's probably gone.
Oh, I think yeah, gone. He went to heaven, as I always say. Sidney he lived in Nutley. He was a dentist. I remember he went to school to dental school. He joined the Coast Guard, I think, and he went to dental school. This was, right after the war.
Did he have children?
He had 2 children. Who or what or why or where, we have no idea. But I know I think he had a son and a daughter. We once went to visit them many, 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 many moons ago. And then my father had a brother, Bill. I think his name. Bill and Rose, and they had one son who was, oh boy, Joel Rogoff. Bill was a salesman, and his wife Rose was a salesperson in Bamberger's in Newark. I remember that. They lived in Newark, in the Weequahic section of Newark. I remember going to visit them occasionally.
In the what section?
Weequahic. It was a section of Newark.
Okay.
Around Weequahic Park. It was a fairly good, nice Jewish neighborhood at that time. You want something?
No, I was just seeing what time it was.
It's 2:30.
Yeah.
So they had a son, Joel, who became a CPA. I think occasionally your father sees him at a funeral or something. But his mother is gone. They live in Short Hills. And I think they have 2 children.
Okay. Well, I want to change the subject completely again.
I don't even know if I'm telling you anything, but...
You are. You're giving me a lot of valuable historical information. I might be doing a video on my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like memories of me, especially as a child. The smaller the better.
The small. Oh, I remember when you were first born. We were in the Air Force. You were born in the Air Force Hospital. I remember that because I know I came down to stay with your mother. I was there maybe 3 or 4 months, and I remember you as an infant.
Did I cry a lot, or how would you characterize me as an infant?
You were pretty normal. I don't think you were anything unusual, or you were a nice little infant, and I took care of you. And I remember we moved from Orlando to Miami. When you were still maybe 6 weeks old or a couple months, no, maybe like 6 weeks old, your father got out of the Air Force and he went to Miami to go to school. And I remember we had you in the car and we stopped hither and yon to warm up your bottle. And we lived with some friend of your sister's for maybe a couple of weeks while I found an apartment. And then I think we went to live in Coral Gables for a while. And then, of course, then I went home. And then I think I came down in one August, when your mother wanted to take the state board exams to be a dental hygienist. And she had to go up to Jacksonville, so I went down to Miami to stay with you.
Well, it was also, my father said that he also took care of me when my mother was gone for some reason.
Yeah, there may have been another time when she went to take another exam or something. But I know I came down when she took one exam, and she had to go to Orlando, and I know I came down on the Greyhound bus, which was as hot as hell, because I think the air conditioning, the air conditioning broke down on the way back up. The first trip I took down on the bus was pretty bad. I got to Orlando. Well, it was fun. Trip to Jacksonville was okay, but from Jacksonville to Orlando, it stopped in everybody's backyard to deliver packages and pick up people. And I got there, my legs were so swollen, I couldn't get out of bed for 2 days.
Yeah, I remember you told me about that.
Yeah, and then, I remember I stayed with your mother.
Well, what kind of things do you remember about me? What kind of incident? Do you remember any events or incidences about what I did as a child?
Nothing special.
Nothing like maybe I fell off a chair or...
Oh, no, I don't remember.
I'd like to go hunt cats or something.
No, I don't remember anything special about you. I really don't.
How about when I was older, but still a child? Did I show any kind of curiosity or...
I just know you were there, and I guess I just didn't... I'm sure you must have been curious, because you still are. You had to be.
But you don't have any specific?
No, nothing too specific. I remember your bar mitzvah in the house. And it was a snowy, snowy day. We didn't know anybody would come and get there or not. But eventually everybody did turn up. That I remember.
How would you characterize that? How would you characterize me going through that bar mitzvah?
Well, I don't think it was exactly your thing. I think you probably did it more for your grandparents than for anything else. Because I certainly know your mother couldn't have cared too much. I don't think Stephen ever had a bar mitzvah, did he? No. No, and you were the only one that had a bris. I remember that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had it in the apartment. He had a chaplain from the...
Chaplain? From the Air Force?
From the Air Force came, or a doctor from the Air Force and a chaplain came, and they did the thing. And I remember holding you, and we had a tiny little celebration in the apartment with a couple of your mother's friends. And I remember the bar mitzvah. I remember I came down to help her, and I probably made tons and tons of cookies, because in those days I was making cookies for everybody's parties, which I have long since stopped doing. And but I don't really remember, like too much of you. I don't really remember, because by then you were in Florida and I was up here, and I didn't really see you that much. I saw more of you when you were, just born than anything else. All I've got is the pictures of you, and that's it. Oh, look at him. You want to say something, Oscar?